Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and fairies, it's me, Bradley G, here in the World Nerve Center headquarters of the Synergy Cafe. And I've got two guests today. Here they are. I'm crushing your head. I'm crushing your head. Remember that? So we're having a peak day today. We got three of them, 3 peaks. Twin peaks, 3 peaks. Casey Peak, Elizabeth Peak, and there's another peak over there, but you can't see him. Say something.
Oh, he will.
I'm sure he will. I'm sure we'll hear.
I'm sure he is, and he's totally gonna like play his little piano over there.
Yeah, we're gonna have
that.
This is kind of like, I'm Johnny Carson. You're Ed McMahon. This is our guest, and that's Doc Severinsen.
There you go.
He's gonna play the music for us.
That's right. He gets to play the music for us.
He's very excited.
He's excited by the proposition of playing music for us. Yeah, he started going.
Yeah, that's our 10-month-old, by the way.
Maestro.
Yep.
So we don't have a topic yet today, so it's just going to kind of manifest itself. And Elizabeth and I have been talking about, I don't even know what to call it. We don't have a word for it. I found a few things like that don't have words for them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You can't explain what you're feeling, but it's like community, network, Rolodex, family, citizenship, just togetherness kind of thing for some reason, and nobody really knows what the reason is.
Yes.
Other than it's trying to be happy and healthy and stuff. So that's what we're going to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been, Brad and I have been talking about community and networking and all of the things that go into building up these synergistic collaboratives, right?
Yes.
But as we've been going through this process, I think we've all, we've had moments where we think we're moving forward and, we're figuring it out. And then we realize, that's not it. That's not it yet. I haven't figured it out yet. And I think that's been one of the most interesting parts about this journey is that we have an idea in our mind of, if I can just get that, then we will be gold. That it's all going to take off from there. And it hasn't happened yet.
Well, I think what's happening is human nature is always changing. So you can't really figure it out, but you can kind of get the nature of people. But we're in this digital age, and what happens with the digital age is you figure it out, and then it changes. And now you're like at square one again. And that's happened with me with the expos when I was doing that. I had a system set up where I would promote the event and promote other people's events, and that went into a MailChimp account and it automated, and it was working really good. And then all of a sudden it didn't. It was gone.
Yeah.
So I think like with human nature, this always comes up to me. You stop at a red light driving your car and you look over at the person next to you and they're staring at you.
Yeah.
You wonder why. And I think it's because people want to connect. What are you doing under the couch?
I know. He's really funny. A minute ago, he was trying to move around the furniture.
I think you might want to grab him, or maybe I have to.
Yeah, I'm mic'd.
Yeah,
I've got the mic on my left shoulder here, so that way you can talk to.
Yeah, you're not leashed.
Yep. Exactly.
There you go. We'll bring in our other co-host.
This is
Hi there.
Hi, everybody. This is Alexander.
Face the
He's
camera.
going to talk to us today about that.
That's right. That's exactly my point. He was saying something about family community. Right? That's the secret handshake.
So this is one of the things that I have noticed is I have been trying to build community, and we're going to use that word for now until we come up with a better one. But as I've been working to build community, and I've done different iterations of it, I noticed there are certain. One of the things that you have to have.
Don't encourage him.
With a real community, you have to have kids. Really, you have to have kids. Kids have to be involved in some way. Otherwise, it's going to die. At some point, it will die.
Sure.
It does not keep going. So when we're talking about community, we're not just talking about a business community. We're not talking about something that is purely motivated by money or motivated by spirituality. We're talking about something that is multi-generational. That's what we would really like. I want something that's good for my kids.
Well, here's
not just good for me.
Here's something that in line with that. You talk about the business and the networking and the community, right?
Yeah.
there was someone that contacted me from Utah that's coming up, and they're starting a kids entrepreneur fair
Cool.
in Minnesota. So I'm on the Fridley 49ers committee, and we're looking at maybe having them involved with that. So you got young kids that are starting their businesses, self-employment. Instead of going to school and learning about Chaucer, they might learn about budgeting and marketing and
Exactly.
something they can actually use in life.
Well, one of the things that I thought was, oh my goodness, I think he's gonna just take over the show. You wanna express yourself for a few minutes? Okay. Sorry, guys.
Season stuff.
We might actually see an uptick in interaction, though. We'll have to check this later.
You know what's really hilarious about this is that for the longest time, Alexander was the quietest baby, and we take him to do all kinds of different events with us. We take him to different group events. We take him to all kinds of stuff, and he's usually a very quiet baby. And then all of a sudden, it's been like the past 2 weeks. He's just been incredibly vocal. He just wants to be a part of everything.
Here's what's going to be interesting when this gets cut into shorts and the AI goes in and tries to figure out what in the heck's that kid saying. Maybe it's going to come out. It's going to figure out. We'll find out what that new word for community is.
Oh, look, there's one person watching. Hello, one person watching. I don't know who it is, but there's a little eyeball that says one person watching.
Nice.
Oh, they came and they went.
They came and went.
There's me. I'm on there.
So I would love to just express a little bit about what we've been doing.
Yes.
Does that sound good?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
So one of the things that I have been doing now since last November is holding women's empowerment events in this studio. And as that has progressed and as I've been learning, I have found that I started off just having people come in and be speakers. Something a little bit more like an AGC or a BNI, but more of a spiritual, metaphysical, helping people with their self-development kind of experience. And that's been really awesome. However, oh gosh, another sound.
Get something.
There we go. But as time has been going on, that has not, I've come to see that we are going to need to make a shift. So what I have also been doing is having people to my house on a regular basis. And we've been getting together with musicians and singing songs and eating food and just having the kids run around like crazy. And that has been really fun. That's been really awesome.
It's like a business networking home party.
Well, it doesn't even have, business, is it, we just care about each other. I think that's the thing that's coming together. I'm starting to understand, I started off with this high level of business networking. We need a network so we can grow our businesses and help each other, and kind of more of a marketplace kind of a vibe. And I'm moving more and more and more away from that, and recognizing what I'm really getting at is a feeling of community that is like family. It's like family.
Well, I was doing that with what I was calling synergy socials.
Move your mouth closer to over here.
Okay.
That's okay. We'll figure it out. We'll do a test and we'll hear what it sounds like after we listen to it. And you go, oh my God.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, that'll definitely let us know.
So what I was looking at is I noticed whenever you go to a business event, people start talking about their families and the Vikings and stuff non-business related. And whenever you get together at a family event, they talk about work. So I decided to flip-flop it. Instead of going to a businessy networking event, let's go bowling. Let's go on a retreat. Let's go other different places and do other different little things. It just made more sense to me. To go from where the human part is rather than the businessy part.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. Here, let me help you out there. Here.
Yeah.
I'm going to mic you for a second.
So at one point in time, I was on city council and I would nurse my babies on camera on city council because it was needed. And I very much believe in women being able to function as mothers in every station of life. It's like the most feminist way to be, right? So considering that I need him to be quiet, this seems to me to be the best option.
Yeah. Well, it's true. I remember
It
whenever
doesn't work on Casey.
I totally remember whenever you were on city council and the baby would all of a sudden need fed, and you'd just be like, all right, you're in the middle of a city council meeting. You'd just be like, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. And obviously, when I was on
It
city
can
council,
broadcast the whole city.
exactly. I didn't do that after they reached a certain age because I usually wasn't bringing them with me when they would be this old. But yeah, for while they were a newborn, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was so proud to see that I have other contacts who've done the same thing since then. And I hope that my example has emboldened other women to do that. Because if you really want to see women involved in politics, or you want to see anyone involved in politics, you just have to stop making things so hard.
Yeah.
You don't need to make everyone feel like they have to look and dress a certain way and act a certain way and behave in a very, very specific way. You can also just lower barriers by being like, you know what, be you, do your thing. We're gonna make it work for the person that is volunteering their time.
I think that really brings up a good point, because a lot of the politics we see, like, women have tried to become more and more involved in a lot of this stuff. But as women have become more and more involved in it, they do it by acting like men.
Yes.
So they dress like men, they go and they like, well, not exactly, but they dress in those, they dress in the suits, and they're like,
agree.
and they're trying to do things in the same fashion as what's already there. But if you really want women to be involved, you have to acquiesce to certain realities of their life that men just don't have, like nursing, for example. Men do not have that as part of their life. So we have not built any of our environments around that.
Exactly. And culture hasn't necessarily caught up with it, because we have stigmas around women not being dressed enough.
That's true. We do have stigmas around it. I think we have a stigma around nursing in particular too, because we went through that weird stint about, I think it was about 100 years ago now. It started, right? It was right around then, where all of a sudden it was like very fashionable for women to not nurse and just use formula. And they're like, oh no, I'm not going to do that to myself. Why would I ruin my breasts by using them as what they're supposed to be used for, right?
There is so much to that. That is such a loaded thing.
It is a loaded thing, and
so
doctors
much
were
story.
recommending that it was better for all of that. But anyhow, you get what I mean. So
Absolutely.
I think that's part of why there's a stigma about it.
There's also a stigma about bringing children to work, because, as you can tell, it's hard to bring children to work.
Yes.
Depends on where you work.
But it depends on where
If you work in a daycare center, it's kind of mandatory.
Yeah. I really hope that as we're moving into kind of a new age of the way things are done, since the pandemic, young people, they are not interested in working their ass off the way they were in the past. Like or the way generations before were. They're like, no, I think I really just want to stay home. I want to work from home. I don't really want to give up all the time I have with my children. Like, they're thinking differently.
Well, some old school business people don't like how that's happening, because these people don't seem to care that they're working, and they say, I don't need this job, and they just leave. How can a guy run a business if he can't depend on the team to actually be there?
Yeah.
Or if a person says, I'm not paid enough to, I'll cook and stuff, but I'm not going to take the garbage out. Not my pay rate, my pay scale.
I'd be figuring out what's motivating those people. Do they have anything they actually want? They obviously don't seem to want to actually be there.
Well, let's segue into my belief. My belief is that things are going to change into a results-based compensation.
Okay.
And it may end up happening through the affiliate model.
All right.
So that if someone's going to do something, they have to earn their money and make it happen. They can't just sit around and,
That's interesting.
That would be a very interesting. I grew up homeschooled, so everything that I did for school was it was really more like unschooling, actually. But I spent lots and lots and lots of time learning, but it was at my own pace. It was when I wanted to. It looked different than everybody else. And I've always thought it was just so silly to think that just because you're okay, I'm doing school all day, it does not mean that you're actually effective, and it doesn't mean that you're actually learning. It doesn't mean that you're really moving anything forward. It's the same thing that I found in having my own business. It's like you can put in 2 hours and get more done than most people can get done in like a whole day.
Well, I don't know if it's time-based compensation. Poor people end up spending more time to save more money.
Now that he nurse, maybe he'll play with the toys now.
I think he's getting very distracted.
Whereas other people spend more money to save more time.
Yeah.
So time is something that we're all limited by, but if you can, how much are you worth per hour?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's changing that way. Like, here's an example of what could possibly happen. Say, for example, you're homeschooling and you have all these kids and you're trying to get your, we'll say, photography business going. And you've got to do some bookkeeping or something. Now you set up the kids over in the corner playing games and stuff, and you got a camera set up there that's hooked up to an affiliate program that is hooked up to Toys R Us and some other children props and things. And that live stream now has that little, I'll put the little thing on there, has a little logo on it, like that, Micro Shift, and the people sit and watch the kids playing, and they go on to Amazon or Toys R Us or Petco if you got an animal, and they start buying stuff. And now you can do your photography business without making a penny. You make it all through the live stream from people watching your kids play.
That's interesting.
You are a goofball. You're just a goofball.
Well, it'll be interesting to
Yes,
see what kind of traffic we get from this situation, because it's been kind of chaotic. But now
It's been very chaotic.
We've got another person, so there's just one channel here. So my concept of synergy, someone working together, what if this is just interesting to someone? What if all of a sudden women look at this and go, finally, we got a woman that's able to breastfeed on YouTube.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I'm sure that there's a bunch of people that are going to rally around that.
Well, there might. You never know what's going to happen with it.
Yeah.
Well,
You never know.
It's definitely harder to keep my train of thought.
It is harder to keep train of thought.
I might need to pop out and take him off and go do something else with him, because he is not getting easier to deal with.
He's really riled up. He sees the camera. He sees himself on the
He's a
camera.
celebrity.
He's just having a blasty blast.
Yup. He is. He thinks it's the funnest thing ever.
You know who Mr. Beast is?
Yeah, he should get into. He should have this kid around him. Well,
Right.
I think maybe I should just go take him into the other room and take care of him. But
Okay.
you guys should talk about a little bit more about the community building.
We'll blend into this whole family concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there is, I think that something's going to start happening with, because the concept of dollar per hour compensation, it's hard for a small business to even exist because of the expenses, not just rent, but also workman's compensation and insurance and maintenance and the Wi-Fi and all that stuff. It's expensive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's hard for a small business to make any money selling a widget.
It is.
So maybe they're going to sell or offer widgets, and they're going to make their money through some live stream of their kids tearing apart a bicycle
Or putting one together.
or trying to put it back together.
Yay!
All right. Well, I'll step in the other room and see if I
Okay,
can
this is
settle.
Elizabeth Peak with your authentic reflections photography. And mother.
Well, that was fun.
Still is. It's definitely different. That kind of stuff happens. And, back in the day, I would get frustrated and upset that it's not going the way that I think it should be and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I kind of don't. It is what it is. You never know what's going to happen with this stuff.
Yeah, that's true. You never know what's going to happen. Yeah, children are remarkable. They have this whole thing where they develop uniquely, and they develop their skill set, whatever skill set that they want, they develop it, and they develop at different rates. So like my 5-year-old, right? He started speaking at 4 months old. Like he started speaking so early that people just don't even believe it. Like it's ridiculous. He started speaking so young. By the time he was 1 year old, he was speaking in complete sentences. He spoke at 1 year old better than my 3-year-old speaks now. So
they're different people.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my point. So now my 3-year-old, on the other hand, she's one of the most empathetic children I've ever met. If she sees you upset, she'll actually run up to you and go, "Are you okay?" And she'll give you a hug, and she checks on you, and she wants to make sure that you're doing okay. She actually actively sees if you are upset and wants to help you in some way. And it's quite unique. She's also very demanding. So she was all talking about, wanting to put up Halloween decorations, which it's funny because nobody else in the entire family, in the house, that is, nobody else in the house is really into putting up decorations or doing decorations. She got in her head she wanted to put up the Halloween decorations. She's like, I want Halloween decorations. Now, Alexander, he's mainly been about moving, about doing things. So he's constantly getting bumps and bruises and playing with toys, and he's already almost able to pull himself up and, trying to get around and rolling around. And he's huge too, as everybody saw. He's a big boy. So it's kind of funny, like watching how children develop and their unique skill sets as they grow older, and how that path just kind of takes them.
Well, some of the other stuff we were talking about with like the psychedelics and the hypnosis and trance and all that. So right now, your child is being programmed.
Yeah. And
when your child is 10 years old, that's the kid.
Yep.
That's what the kid's gonna be like when he's 60.
Yep. Pretty much.
Unless you're changing in the neurons and stuff. So,
right.
Like there was Jeff Olson years ago. He talked about how many times a child is told no.
Mm-hmm.
So then what do you learn? How can you do anything? You can't do that. You can't do that. So I want to decorate. Here's a little sidebar for you. You're talking about decorating for Halloween.
Yeah.
My magician friend, his son went and bought a whole bunch of pumpkins and bales of hay, and he's gonna decorate people's porches.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow those algorithms got in there. So yesterday I saw some woman every year. She's been doing it for a while. She starts her sales cycle in July, and it's over by September. She decorates for Halloween. She does $1 million in 3 months.
Wow.
So it's all the orders are set up, and then she just hires people to go and set them up. So who knows? Your daughter that wants to decorate for Halloween, she might go, I could do this and make money. Now all of a sudden she's got a multi-million-dollar company putting pumpkins on porches.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody that was told no might get radical and start kicking pumpkins off porches. They start vandalizing because they're frustrated.
Perhaps.
I wanted to be a pumpkin decorator, and my dad said no. So,
Pumpkin King.
So it's weird, those neurons that connect a person's brain and what they end up doing. And there are personalities with different people, like you're expressing. Your different kids have different personalities.
Yeah.
And that's how it falls with this thing that Elizabeth talking about, with going back with the community and stuff. It's a different kind of thing. It's like, gee, I'd like to go to more networking events, but I got my kids. What if you have an event where your kids are welcome?
Yeah. Have kids, the kids run around and play. I mean, we didn't take William very much because we were really new at it all. So we kind of did everything a little bit.
Actually, the first networking event that I met you and your wife at, William was there.
Oh, okay. There you go.
That was at the Forgotten Star in Fridley.
Yeah, that's true.
And William was there.
That is true. Yep.
So
yeah, you and I, the first time we met, we were playing golf.
Yeah,
Top golf.
Yeah, Elizabeth wasn't there, and neither was
Elizabeth wasn't there though.
I don't think William was even a thought back then.
No, he was. He was already around.
Was he?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, he was already around by a little bit.
Okay.
Because he was born in 2019.
Okay.
So it's funny because for the first year of your life, for the first year of your life, you don't get to see very many people, right? You just get to see like family and then maybe some other babies a little bit, or, a little bit like that, right? But it's not very much. And then, of course, then COVID happened. And so then we didn't get to see anybody again. So he had a little bit of a funny youth in that way.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's going to be that'd be a weird way to grow up with. How come everybody's wearing a mask?
Right. Oh, he thought it was weird. He would talk about it. He would talk about how it was really weird. He goes, "Why is everybody covered up? Why can't I see anybody's face?"
I think it's weird. And people are still doing it.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyways, now where do we go?
Well, we were talking about community and development, and we were talking about how people develop. And, it's really interesting because, you have people as they develop, they can experience the exact same things. And depending on the way that they perceive those things, it could be a completely different situation as to how they end up. It was like you were talking about pumpkin smashing versus, decorating the pumpkins. Well, it could be that everybody was told no, right? And then out of that whole entire group, it was, no, you can't do that. Or they're all related, right? And they're like,
sure.
Let's say it's triplets. They're all told no, right? And they're living basically the same life. Well, out of those triplets, each one of them has their own perception about the situation. And they could totally end up deciding that the idea of what's happening ends up taking down a totally different
there
path.
might be one of them that gets taught that to be a warrior and says, you can't tell me no.
Right.
And then they show you otherwise.
Yeah.
So there might be that kind of element that might happen.
But it's not even taught, really. It's more along the lines of just how incredibly different people's minds are. Because, I grew up in the ghetto, right? And surrounded by gangs. There was a lot of gang violence. There was drugs everywhere. My mom got busted for it multiple times and went to prison for a significant portion of my life. And here we are, right? And I didn't end up a criminal. Yeah, but whereas it could have totally went that direction.
It could have, but it's like going down a pathway and you come to a fork in the road. All it takes is one decision and you're going a different direction. So it could have been something very subtle. You were at the grocery store and you saw a blue sucker and a red sucker, and you decided to take the red sucker. And then the little fortune inside the wrapper tells you to go start a lemonade stand or something. And all of a sudden, hey, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. So you never know what little incident might have happened that's going to change the trajectory, even if you were in the hood. That's why the growing up in the hood isn't an excuse.
No, it's not an excuse.
No.
It's not an excuse at all. And that was really what my point is that I'm thinking about this and I'm like, it's kind of odd. You end up with a lot of people and they talk about all of these various different things that happen to them. And the perception of what happened to them is going to set their reality. So for me, for example, like, the bad things that were happening to me and something, something inside of me was like, well, these things have to be happening for a reason. They have to be happening for a reason. There's something that I'm supposed to either learn or transform. And maybe I'm going through this so other people don't have to. Maybe I'm supposed to just like help other people through their hard times because I've been through all of this. So, I mean, at 14 years old, I'd been through stuff that, I had lots of people tell me this who also grew up in the similar areas. I had so many things happen to me that there was people at that time who were twice my age who were telling me, yeah, I haven't been through that much stuff in my entire life. So it's kind of like one of those things where I could be like, hey, this was awful. I had such a terrible thing. Life sucks. I'm just going to show them and get all mad at the world. Or I could do what I did and internalize it all and be like, yeah, but this has got to be happening for a reason. And how I utilize what happened to me is what's more important than what happened to me.
Mm-hmm. And every situation happens moment by moment. Something can turn around in a minute.
Yeah.
Like, here's an example. I used to drink a lot I had multiple DWIs. My third one, I just decided, I made a decision to quit drinking, and I haven't drank for years.
Yeah.
So that little incident happened in an instant.
Yeah, and you
Whereas
told me it was right when you saw the lights too.
It was exactly when I saw that. Oh, there you go. I'm done drinking.
Yep, you were like,
So it could
okay,
have went the
this is
other way
done.
because where it was, the first one happened because I was well deserved. I was like 0.23 or something like that. I was like, a quarter of my blood was alcohol. It's horrible. I deserved that one big time. And then the second one wasn't as bad. And I was trying to drink when I'd go out of town.
Mm-hmm.
So it was that excuse.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the third one happened, I could have said, okay, I'm not going to quit. I'm just going to be really careful. I'm not going to drink and drive. I'll just drink when I'm by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I could go downhill.
Mm-hmm.
I just decided it's not good for me and done with it. So any little decision depends on what's on the other side of it. Either you're going to go this way or that way. If you go that way, this happens. If you go that way, something else happens.
Mm-hmm.
So all these little decisions that we make that are those neurons in the neural pathways and stuff that need to be rearranged. If someone's not happy with their life, you got to make a change.
Yeah, that's true.
And sometimes it's beyond you and you need some help.
That's
Talk
very
to
true.
somebody or just look at things through a different lens.
Yeah.
Like going back to the community thing, going to some of these businessy networking events. I don't like them because nothing really happens at them. Yes, you see old friends and stuff and you talk and you have a beer but nothing really happens.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when I was doing my event planner expo, someone from Cargill Corporation says, we need a blackjack dealer for our upper management conference that's happening in Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
So they would hire this person and pay them millions of dollars to go over to Dubai. This isn't a real situation, but it's a possibility. I had one of my vendors that it was popped corn, and she ended up connecting with somebody that was buying like $500 or $5,000 worth of popcorn every month.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good connection to make. And so those kind of events are more exciting to me than going to these things that don't seem to go any further than see you next month.
Right. It's nice whenever you can build friendships and, you have, even if it's just acquaintances where you actually know something about them, you know something about their life, you can actually, it's something tangible where you can actually be a part of their development in some way.
Well, that's what I think happens with like what Elizabeth talking about is doing things that aren't necessarily businessy things. Yes, they are entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, self-employed, but they're at the trampoline place where you just sit there and bounce and you watch the kids bouncing. And, oh my God, your son is really good at those backflips. He's doing doubles and he's only 7. You might end up having a more interesting conversation of where it might go when you got the rest of the family in it.
Right.
Other than, hey, how many business cards did you get?
Right.
It's like, I don't know, but I'm going to follow up on all of them on Monday. You're going to spam every one of them on Monday. So it goes to this point of, say, for example, you go to this event and it's not necessarily a businessy event, but they're business people, and you get to really know, like, and trust and respect the person. And then you're out on the freeway and you get a flat tire and you got to be somewhere. You don't know what to do. So you call your wife and she's not available. You call your best friend and he's not available. Who the hell are you going to call? And you go skipping through and you go, oh, John. I'll call John, see if he'll do it. And John does it because he's your friend, not just a client.
Right.
Anyways.
Yeah, it's true. Like I utilize that in my business model. So whenever I help people, with whether it's, the information surrounding microdosing or anything like that, I get to really know these people. I get to know things about their lives. I get to know what their challenges are. I get to know where they want to grow, everything. And it would be a huge waste if I just dropped that connection. So I try to keep those connections going. I try to get to know these people. I want to actually be a part of their worlds, their growth, where they're going. I invite them to come to events that I'm holding, even if it's not the events where there's any money to be made. I don't really care. It's not about the money. It's about the people.
Well, those are some of the things that I've been looking at, getting back into event stuff, believe it or not, because I want people to meet people.
Yeah.
Like that thing that
I
you
figured
guys
that
are
was
doing.
coming.
You guys are doing that thing out in Glencoe.
Yeah.
There's a place by where I live. It's called Crooners, and on Wednesdays they have a free night.
Mhm.
So now nobody can say, "Gee, it's not in the budget," but they have a little free night. Granted, it's a bar restaurant, so kids might not be ideal there. But you just get together and have some cocktails or some water or some 7-Up or some whatever. Order some hors d'oeuvres and listen to the two-piece band play some bluegrass,
Nice.
jazz or whatever. Or maybe there's some other things. We're just all going to go for a walk. We're going to go for a nature walk. You ever go walk around Lake Calhoun?
Yeah.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Instead of a marathon where everybody's running, why don't we just walk?
Mm-hmm.
A walkathon. I suppose
Sure.
they probably have those.
They do. They do. Yeah. There's actually a group that my wife used to join every once in a while that would go for walks, nature walks, and she would go with them every once in a while.
Yeah, stuff like that. I think a lot more.
She did that this morning with a friend of hers.
I noticed some of her social media posts have been out in nature at sunrises and stuff.
Yeah, she's actually made it a thing for her this entire last week to make sure that she gets up really early, because she has to get up early anyways to go take the kids. So she gets up really early, and then she takes them to school, and then she goes and she takes a walk in nature and watches the sunrise. Oh, excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there should be more of that kind of stuff, and I think more business would actually happen rather than going to these things.
Well, some of the old school business, the way that a lot of these older business people would do it is they would go hang out at the golf course,
right?
Play golf. So these people were their friends, and then they would all do business together. And a lot of people got all mad at that. Oh, it's a good old boys club, blah, blah, blah. Well, people buy from people they like. It's just the way that it is. I mean, and we're coming back to that now. It's just, people don't want it to be completely insular, but at the same token, right, people buy from people they like. So you go out there, you meet people, you get to know them, they become part of your extended network.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not you choose to pursue that friendship is whether or not they're going to think about you whenever they have something random that comes up.
Well, see, we're talking about that kind of thing. That's part of my challenge with it is all of us have the same amount of time.
Yeah.
And our calendars end up getting full. And there's like basically an infinite amount of places that we could possibly meet.
Yeah.
So how do we all agree that we're going to meet at certain places?
Mm-hmm.
Because I like to stay kind of in my area, Northeast Fridley, Minnesota area.
Mm-hmm.
You're only about 10, 15 minutes west of me, so I can get here fairly fast. So this area, but somebody that's way down in Chaska or something,
yeah,
they're not going to drive way up here to have a coffee.
Yeah. Well, I've had people like that.
Yeah. So I wonder if there's some kind of system. I think it'd be, I mean, I'm getting techie now, but maybe it's tied in with the zip code.
Mm.
You know, you go onto a website and go, I wonder if there's any networking events in a 5-mile radius of 55432. And then there's all the events are. And they're not necessarily networking events. They're just farmers market. But if I go there, I know that I'm going to bump into Casey or Elizabeth or John Armstrong or somebody, just because that's where we go. We go hang out at the same place at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many days there's 7 days, and there's all these hours and all these different places. We need to find some hangouts like Cheers. And they go to Cheers and everybody knows them there.
Yeah. Cheers was a cool show.
Yeah. So they need to have a place. That's part of my dream, is having a coffee shop where people can come and do live stream and hang out with coffee and just talk about ideas or play ping pong or billiards or just hang out.
Yeah. When I was a young man, that was actually what I did mostly. And I wasn't even a young man, actually. I shouldn't say young man, because honestly, I was whenever I started doing it, I was like 14, and by the time that I was in my 20s, I moved here, and the entire atmosphere was changed. So, like, I was a teenager. So I would go hang out at coffee shops all the time, and there was this one coffee shop. It was my favorite coffee shop I would go to. It was called the Rumpus Room, and that coffee shop was really cool. They would have poetry readings there, and it was open mic usually, and we would just go there and hang out. And it didn't close until like 2 o'clock in the morning, just like a bar. So you can go hang out, and it was a lounge. They had seats, and it was really comfortable. And
Yeah, that kind of thing.
You could buy your own mug that got hung up on the wall, and so
Okay.
it was like part of the decoration of the place that things would get set up that way.
That's a cool
and,
idea.
Yeah, and it was really cool. It was a really super awesome place. It would probably have stayed around for more years to come, but the owner mismanaged some things and did some illegal stuff, and they got shut down. So yeah, it was, but it was a great concept.
This little thing that's down there, it says the Synergy Cafe.
Yeah.
If you go to my Synergy Cafe, those of you that are listening, that's a thing that I have a conceptual for a coffee shop, like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
A place just to hang out and do stuff. It's for people that are entrepreneurial and self-employed. It's not a place for people to go and just get drunk or caffeinated.
Caffeinated.
Yeah, there's no alcohol at the cafe.
Right.
It's not alcoholic.
Well, the nice thing about these caffeinated places that you go and you hang out at is, there's no alcohol. But traditionally, if you go back to the origination of the coffee house, right, the coffee shop.
Yeah.
Originally, coffee shops, they come from Arabia. If people don't know that, it's a classic concept. It goes all the way back to Arabia. It's very, very old. And the coffee house was a place where people would go hang out, drink coffee, and talk philosophy for hours and hours and hours on end. And they just didn't close at night. And they didn't open until late. And then they would open like at 6 o'clock at night, and they would run until like 6 o'clock in the morning.
So let's talk about some of the blocks that are preventing that from happening and see if there's some solutions to that. Because I know that some of the difficulties with the person doing a coffee shop is retail space is really expensive.
Yep.
And regulations are crazy with all the 3-bin washing sink and food and safety and all that stuff when you got all that crap.
Well, I mean, you're not serving food, so if you don't serve food, it's not a big deal. And if you do serve food, you can get around some of it by only serving food that's pre-made out of a different kitchen. Because then it's just like it's like a concession stand. It's not a big deal as long as it's individually packaged. Sure. You can get away with that. So you don't have to have all the kitchen and all the rest of that stuff. You still have to have a sink for washing like glasses, but that's really about it.
I'm just looking at ways of keeping the bureaucracy out of it so that an owner-operator can actually make a living.
Right.
And my solution is to turn it into a private club where you're only welcome if you're a member, and members can bring guests, but it's not open to the public.
Sure.
So now it doesn't matter. You don't need that. It's you want to have a pizza, we'll just order it.
That would work.
I think
that would work. I think that a private club is a great way to get around it. There's actually the club that I used to hang out at a lot whenever I was that same age, was a private club. It was not a coffee house per se, but it was a private club. They did have coffee there. It was crappy coffee, but they had coffee there, lots of coffee. and they had like other different things that were going on, but it was completely a private club. It's how they kept going. And at the point where they changed the regulations to where you couldn't smoke indoors, they actually kept smoking indoors until they voted it out of existence.
Well, there's a guy
they couldn't even regulate that.
Yeah, there's a guy that has a club over by Loring Park, and the city shut him down for one day because they were smoking. It was a cigar club.
Yeah.
So they're smoking cigars, and they shut them down for a day, and they said, no, you can't shut us down. They opened back up. So there's ways of getting around that kind of stuff, and I'm not looking to get around it for any malicious purposes. I just don't like the bureaucracy trying to shut me down and stuff. I want to make stuff happen. And another thing about the concept that I'm putting into play is the coffee shops are not on the main drag.
Right.
They're in some warehouse area that's more affordable than this curb traffic.
Right.
Street traffic. We don't need that.
Well, it'd be cool if you had a board to do it and you had a like a 501c3 and then you ran it basically at cost and just paid the people who worked there.
Why would you need a 501c3?
Well, if you did it that way, you can set it up as a private organization that was nonprofit.
Why can't you just set up as a private organization?
You could just set it up as a private organization.
For profit.
Wouldn't even need to be for profit. If it's a private club, you're probably not going to pull in a lot of profit. But
why not?
I guess it depends on your clientele.
What if there was one in every city? Just like Starbucks, only it's not Starbucks, it's something else.
Well, I mean,
so, clubs.
For anybody who's familiar with like AA or NAA, they do have that. The Alano clubs are all private.
There you go.
They do that.
They got coffee.
And they have coffee. They have concessions and snacks.
Well, there you go.
And they're very unregulated.
Why couldn't you follow that model?
You could.
And I'm not sure where their compensation comes from. Is it all by donation? Look at churches. They seem to be doing okay.
There's a membership cost.
Yeah.
For Alano clubs, there's a membership cost.
Well, there's a way. So I'm gonna research that. It might be a model to fulfill where you can go anywhere, and it's more of an entrepreneurial club than an alcoholic club.
Recovering alcoholic club.
I don't mind someone that wants to drink, but I don't want drinking in my establishment.
Right. And that's the same model that they're running off of. They're like, we want a safe place where people aren't doing drugs and aren't drinking. And so they set it up, and that was the model that they utilized. It's not to say that you couldn't do anything like that that's very similar. I mean, because it's a similar desire too. You're like, I just don't want people like, I don't want people drinking or acting stupid in the club. So you totally could do it. It works. The guy who originally made the Alano clubs was actually the inventor of the plumber snake. So he financed the whole entire thing himself. However, with that being said, that's not to say that you couldn't have a board who, in order to get on the board that ran the place, right? Because eventually the entity is going to run itself, right? In order to get on the board, you pay in to open up the original location. So then these people...
So they're like investors?
It would be like investors, except that they're on a board that runs this place. So it's not run by an individual, it's an organization, and the organization's run by a board.
Yeah, there's a...
Because then it would be a private organization.
There's in Hollywood, California, the Magic Castle. That is run by a 501c3 that's the Academy of Magical Arts, and then the Magic Castle is the private club that's connected with it. So I can see that might be a reason to have the nonprofit so that you can run it as a structure.
Yeah, then you don't have to worry about taxes. But you do still have to worry about auditing because they have to make sure that you're not actually running a profit. And I can see why you wouldn't necessarily want to run a 501c3. It would be better if you ran it as a private club in some ways. We're probably boring the heck out of people talking about this particular one, but the fact that we had two people there just a moment ago listening, I'm like, oh, interesting that they want to listen to us talk about a potential private club.
It's me. And she's watching.
To us.
She might still be there.
She gave us a thumbs up.
Yay.
Yeah, but it's I mean, it's a great concept. I really do think it's a good concept. I think it would be a lot of fun. And really, I miss classic coffee houses. There was a lot of them in Southern California at the time. The rise of Starbucks was happening at the time. And then as Starbucks rose, the whole idea of coffee changed and what it is to get coffee. And it just became like we just want to sell you a coffee. Just come get a coffee from us and go away. And then all the other coffee houses started shutting down. Like, to begin with, Starbucks had places where people can come and sit and have coffee, but it very quickly moved away from the cafe model and moved to the fast food model. And it basically shut down all the other coffee houses.
Well, what if it was more, maybe not a coffee house, but it was sort of a coffee format. It was more like a fun center, a family fun center that was privately owned. So you're a member of the club, you're a citizen, and that way you get away from all the bureaucracy and stuff. Not all of it, but as much as you can. And you're a member, in a certain community, and you can come there and bring the kids, and the kids can play over in the kids' room, and you got the adults that are playing poker over here, and the kids are playing Uno over there.
Kind of like a coffee house concept of the old school McDonald's Playhouse.
I'm not sure. I don't think I did that.
Well, in McDonald's, you know how they have all the play structures?
Yeah.
At the McDonald's? Yeah, you can have like a little play structure. You have some games there for them to play with, things like that. And
Like that.
And it was made so there's emergency exits, but it was in a separate area and the door closed. So they can be loud in here and you go into the next room and it's not very loud and you can just hang out. It's fine.
Yeah, okay, I kind of see what you're talking about. I remember some of that.
And it was glass too, so you can see everything that was going on in the other room. And if they tried to exit through any of the exits other than into the area where you're at, it was not only were they heavy doors,
One
right?
way?
They were one way, and they were emergency exits, so you'd have to open them, and then an alarm sounded.
Got it.
So if anybody went to go out of them, you have to go. You're like, hey, what's going on? And the kids, check out.
Well, that's it. I think part of what brings this up is the all the stuff that's going on with our government and stuff, and it's just hard to get anything done.
Yeah,
with the government involved. To me, I mean, we're in a different topic. What do we got for time?
we got a comment.
We got a comment.
We do.
I know who it is. Do you know
Probably.
who it is? Let's find out.
Let's see.
It's not who I.
Oh, look at that.
How come I can't?
There you go. You can click on it.
There you go. Jeffrey.
We were cooperative offices.
Yeah, they're not doing so good anymore. We work.
Hi, Jeffrey. I know you said hi, Brad, but
Do you know Jeffrey?
that's all right. I'll say hi. I don't know. The name sounds familiar.
Let me share a little bit about Jeffrey. Jeffrey is a friend of mine that I met. I used to go to Calhoun Square a lot, and he had a kiosk there. He's an artist. He's been an artist for a long, long time. And what he does is he does magnet art. Everything is unique. He does his micro doodling thing. He glues all sorts of stuff on these things. And he's got thousands of these magnets. And what's interesting here, you see his last name?
Mm-hmm. Gauss.
Yeah, you know what that is?
Yep.
That's a measurement.
Of magnetism.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
It's cool. Mm-hmm.
So he didn't get into it because of his name, but he calls himself the Magnet Dude. So if you're looking for magnets, just Google Magnet Dude, and you'll find Jeffrey here from the Twin Cities area. Thanks,
Nice.
Jeff. He's fun to talk to. He's very much of an antagonizer. He was in Calhoun Square.
I'm on the show.
Maybe. Jeff, you want to be on the show? Let us know. He was in Calhoun Square, which is now called 7 Points or something like that, for a long, 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 long time. And he's just very good at getting affordable rent for a long time. He's quite the thrifty entrepreneur.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome.
He's at all the festivals and stuff with his magnets.
Yeah.
67,000 pieces created.
63,700 pieces created so far. Thanks for the shout out. And that would be fun. Great. Yeah. So if you want to be on the show, Jeffrey, you should message Brad. And we can set it up. Yeah, it's every Monday at 11 a.m. So if you have a Monday at 11 a.m. that you are free, we would love to have you on.
Yeah, it'd be fun. He's an interesting character.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're running out of time. We have about 6 minutes left. Yeah, so just a quick little bit about our show here. MagicBrad and I, we both are interested in perception and reality and how it kind of affects everything around us. And I don't mean just reality as in the reality that people think of whenever you have, hey, I have a tangible chair here. Because perception shifts a lot about what we expect reality to be. In fact, studies have shown that whenever people are experiencing an event, that not every single person in that room is experiencing the exact same event. They're actually experiencing it in different ways because their perception is completely different. So reality is not as concrete as we would like to believe. And that is exactly what magicians design all of their routines around is the fact that your perception is not necessarily what is happening.
Well said. Yeah, it's interesting when people are like atheists talking about God and I'm into reality. You don't even know what reality is because it's just a belief. The belief in God is the reality. Maybe
Yeah.
there is no such thing. Maybe there is no existence.
Yeah.
That one I have a hard time with. That's a whole nother topic.
It would actually be fun to actually have somebody who was interested in the kind of topics that we're talking about, who is an atheist, to come on the show and have a chit chat with us.
I could have T-Jump come on, and he's very good at the atheist conversation.
Well, it's not that I want to talk about atheism. I would like to talk about the nature of reality.
Sure.
I would like to talk about the nature of reality, or maybe psychedelics and spiritual growth, because atheists don't necessarily not believe in spirituality. Atheists, the name, the term atheist literally just means no God. So it's that they don't believe in a God. So atheism doesn't necessarily mean like I don't believe that that we're spiritual or that we have a spirit.
We've gone over time, so we're going to shut this down, but that's an interesting place to go. That atheism, it's about, is theism about God, or is it about a theory of a God?
It's theist.
Like theology, has that got to do with theory?
Theists, yeah, it's about God.
But is theology a theory?
No.
What is it? So they're not related words?
Theology and
theory?
Well, theory.
I have to look it up. I have to Google it.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm not sure about theory, but theology is different. Yeah, theology is more along the lines of atheism. Is they have the same root.
We'll have that conversation too.
Yeah,
makes your brain work.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna sign it off.
All right.
Tell them goodbye.
Goodbye. Be kind. Be nice. And
be nice. Say be nice.
Be nice.
I say good. Be good. Be kind. Be nice.
There you go. Be good.
Be
be kind. Be nice.
Yeah.
Be nice.
Incentivize kindness.
There you go.
Dun dun dun.